So I thought about doing this for a while, or I came out around debating whether to do this on St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Aaron Goldbroth. Um, and you have a particularly Irish holiday that we celebrate because of the mass amounts of Irish that came over here prior to and during the Civil War. Uh, and I think I can address other questions in here as well. Yes, I am for all 32 counties being united in one independent Ireland, and let Ireland govern Ireland, and no colonialism. As you know, I'm a nationalist. I'm not for any forms of colonialism. I think the hardest to try to say is how to be nationalist in the United States, since there's really very few defining things, and it's almost America by its nature is almost anti-nationalist, because it's so multi-ethnic, whether it wants to see itself as that or not. And people who, I mean, you have the colonialists, the immigrants, the slaves, native peoples here. But of those places, I think we really need to recognize Ireland as being one of the biggest contributions to the United States, and definitely one of the biggest contributions to the world, especially Western civilization is indebted to Ireland. Even the Roman Catholic Church says that Ireland kept a very pure form of Catholicism, and they're very educated, knowing of what the church is. What these people weren't just politicians. This was Ireland. This was a place that was kind of only harassed by England and was seen as, I mean, I don't know if I should say it's seen as, but it could have been Iceland. It was far out, you know. It wasn't France or Italy or Spain, you know, places that really, or the power of England, where they, you know, they could have control in Rome at various periods in history, not continually, of course. So Ireland's contributions to the world are fantastic, and even in the Mexican Revolution, the fiercest fighters were the San Patricios. These were men of Irish descent that fought the United States. They were originally part of the United States Army, but due to the hard anti-Catholic rhetoric and propaganda and bigotry that was going on during the Mexican-American War, you remember shading things in Manifest Destiny. Manifest Destiny is particularly Protestant. And funny thing, the first people to take on the name Native Americans were WASPs that would form gangs and beat up and kill and rape Irish women and kill Irish people. And this is where you got the 40 Thieves and the Dead Rabbits and all these gangs and the 5 Points and everything. Crappy movie, Gangs of New York, but I liked it because it actually showed a part of history that usually there's never movies made about that. And I don't think of that movie they show the shelling of New York City, but New York was about to secede because of the atrocities done against the Irish. The Irish have always been their own people, fiercely independent and very proud, although they were looked at with hatred and contempt for the majority of time. The last true Celtic country, we've seen is Ireland, the last Celtic country. Not any disrespect towards Wales or Scotland, but they're occupied by British rule, and you wouldn't have the Union Jack. That's Wales, England, and Scotland. Horrible name. The Irish actually got called the niggers of Europe. And they pretty much were in how they were viewed by the Anglo-Saxon. In horrid cartoons that you see around the time of the Civil War of the Irish, making them look like apes. A strange thing, even back then, one of the most common marriages was Chinese and Irish. The Irish didn't really have qualms about intermarrying with people. They were more family oriented, and it wasn't really a racial stance or anything like this with ethnic groups like the English or the French or the Spanish or these colonial peoples. Irish people just want to be left in peace and work and raise a family. Might seem not much, but that's a very noble idea. I view it as that. So people should be happy that there's an Ireland. Irish people can be proud of who they are. Now again, I kind of I always struggled with the idea of how can you be proud of something that you couldn't control. Well, because that's your people. It's your family. These are your ancestors and your very closest relatives. I mean, we're all relatives in the human race. But you first start there, the love of well, unless you're crazy, the need for self-preservation, right? The want of your own welfare and love of your family, and want them to be well and happy, and then extending out from there. And hopefully people can accept the entire world as their brothers and sisters, although this hasn't been shown. The Irish really are an amazing people throughout time. They do Christianity in their way. They do things in their way. St. Patrick's Day falls in Lent. It's still a holiday that they celebrate. It's still a feast day. Yeah, but just, kind of how Polish was so Catholic that the communists couldn't even really touch that. They couldn't do jack about that. As hard as they were, they really it's too Catholic. We can't really mess with that, or else we're gonna have to kill everybody in the country. It's kind of how Ireland was, at least up until the 90s, or what we get told about it. I remember when the St. Patrick's Day parade was actually on St. Patrick's Day. No matter what day it was, so you'd skip school and go on the train, right? Get on the metro and then jump on the L, or a pile in 6 people in somebody's crappy car and go down there. And the Southside Irish Parade was awesome. And I already marched in the Southside Irish Parade. They had to cancel it for a few years because it's just too rowdy, and they got kegs on the street and everything. And this is Bridgeport and Beverly. These are good old towns, the good cities of the South Side. These places, not actually really different from Chicago. I mean, it just blends right into these neighborhoods. But there's everything in Chicago is a neighborhood. Even all the parts of Chicago, those are neighborhoods. Like Lawndale, Humboldt Park, Rogers Park. Anybody who knows Chicago knows this. But that was the Irish Catholic and Italians that were down there. A fantastic people. And I support their struggle for independence. I do the Palestinians, as I see in a great line of nationalists like Ho Chi Minh and Gandhi, for people to be free and govern themselves. And for the Palestinians, and war will never stop until the aggressor is out of the territory, is off stolen land. Which is why I think how these wars should end is ceding the indigenous people back their land. and in situations like Palestine and Northern Ireland, I think you can obviously see that these skirmishes aren't going away. They might die down for a decade or two, but they're not going away. Certainly not Palestine. But Ireland has a connection to all these people. Ireland actually, in its struggle, armed resistance against occupation and ethnic cleansing and horrid bigotry and second-class citizenship and the craziness of that. It had an unforeseen consequence by Britain using these harsh actions in the north. The IRA actually wound up bringing us all the modern techniques of terrorism. Because, of course, the Irish are very ingenious people and industrious people, and when they started, the IRA brought us modern terrorism. I don't see the IRA as terrorists. And their techniques, unfortunately, are used by people whose goal is that the end game is to kill the Christian and the Jew. It's not to get land or anything like that. These are very scary things when you have this any type of warfare or war techniques in the hands of sociopaths. It's pretty terrifying. Ireland, you look on it, it's kind of there's tragedy in that, and in all of the Irish history, there's a sweet kind of tragedy. I say sweet, I mean there's something you could be proud of, but might make you want to cry learning about it, and the hardship and basically all the shit that people who thought they were better than the Irish could just throw on them and just grind them into the ground, and they kept coming up on top, which is most of my ethnicities. I'm majority Irish, which outweighs the Latino and the Arab in me, as you can see. Very proud to be Irish, and would never deny it. Holds a special place in my heart. Hopefully I'll see Ireland one day. Peace to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Aaron Gobrow.